This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment coach for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. Now here is today's episode. Episode 88. Before I dive into today's interview, have you heard of the new mastermind group Tamara Powell and I are doing? It's called Stepping into Soul, Shredding Limitations and Labels. And in this program, it's 12 consecutive weeks. It actually begins April 5th. So that means the doors are going to close the Friday before we begin the group coaching program, and it will go until July 3rd. Every single Friday, you will get a live group coaching call with Tamara or I or both of us. And we also have weekly modules that we're going to be putting out to the group as you go through this. The thing that makes us different from some of the other group coaching programs is we're doing a hybrid method, things that, Tamara and I learned from our own experiences of what we really wanted. And what we mean by this is you're going to come up with your own goals. We've definitely got prompts for you to go through, and you're going to create the goals for your business or other areas of your life. And then the modules we have are going to help you dive even deeper of breaking through some of the mindsets that may be holding you back. We know for some of you, if you're an ambitious entrepreneur, a heart-centered entrepreneur, and you've had a loud inner critic, or you've been procrastinating, or maybe it's even you're worrying about what loved ones or your clients will think of you if you actually make these changes that you've been craving to do, well, then this program is for you. We're keeping it small. We're limiting it to 12 women. We wanted to create a very intimate space because we didn't want you to get lost in a number. There's many group programs that are out there that, hundreds of people sign up and you're just nothing more than a number, and you're not going to be seen or heard when there's that many people. So we kept it small. We keep it intimate, and we want the women who if you're right for this or not, because you're an action taker. You are tired of being stuck in this. You're tired of letting the shoulds hold you back. So if this sounds like a program for you, if you're interested in it, go out to steppingintosoul.com and you can find all the details out about what the modules are, the investment, what you're going to get from this, and so much more. This link will also be in today's show notes. And now here is today's episode. Well, welcome, sisters. I am so excited about this upcoming conversation. My guest today is Dr. Carmen Roman, and she is the president of the nonprofit Emotions in Harmony. She has 3 podcasts that she is doing, and one of them is Emotions in Harmony. Dr. Roman is a clinical psychologist licensed in California and Mexico with 27 years of experience. She offers a combination of both cultures and both worlds of psychology. She specializes in trauma, sexual abuse, and immigration issues. Additionally, she has trained community leaders for 20 years in Mexico and the U.S. using the model of empowerment suggested by popular education theory. Dr. Roman works mainly with couples and families, and some clinical issues that she works with are anxiety, depression, fear, severe trauma, or low self-esteem. Based on Gestalt therapy, she helps her clients to live with awareness, responsibility, and in the here and now, which is right up my alley. Aided by transpersonal psychology, she addresses issues of spirituality, the use of meditation, and shamanic experiences. She is a specialist in creative expression in therapy at master and PhD levels. Thus, most likely, you will work with creative expressive tools that you already have, or you will learn to ease your emotional healing. She is also a meditation teacher for the Insight Timer community. Well, Carmen, I just want to say thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So before we kind of dive into shamanism and what shamanism is, would you mind sharing a little bit, like what really got you into being a therapist and kind of what was your path into this?
into being a psychologist, you mean?
Yes, a psychologist.
Um,
Yes.
Actually, it came from my parents. My parents were with no education. They have not even elementary school. They were their social workers and psychologists in their community. They listen to people, they nurture them, make tea for them. And this is how I grew up. So I didn't know that was the name. That I didn't know it was a profession because I didn't hear in my community anything about a psychologist. But when I learned that was called psychology, I was in.
You're like, okay, this is just kind of part of my life. So let's do this.
Let's do this officially. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, part of why I wanted you on today, you also, part of the spiritual work that you do with your clients is shamanic work. And so would you mind sharing with my listeners, what is shamanism? Like, what is that? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Shamanism is actually a way of living. And if we look for the concept means the one who knows, which usually is the wise in the local community, the wise person. And it's why I say it's a way of living is because shamans, they do practices, they have spiritual journeys that allows them to be present with their sort of speak clients, with the people who visit them. It's the difference with a doctor or us psychologists is that we can just close the office and go on with our lives. And normally a shaman will be inserted in the community. They know the shaman and they will witness how the shaman lives. So it comes with a bigger responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I learned shamanism. I definitely will not consider myself shaman because that's really a lot of work.
Well, yeah, and based on what you were just saying, if for a shaman, it's they're doing it kind of day in and day out, where they don't, like where we're talking about as, clinicians, we can shut that door and go on. That is truly their way of living. And let me ask this for my own clarity: to become a shaman, is that something, is it kind of handed down between, generations to generation? Or is it like you're saying, I can be with a shaman and learn how to become one? How does that typically work, if you don't mind me asking?
We in the Western culture, I think we like to think that we are in control. Yeah. So in the Western culture, it's very difficult to understand, to say that the shaman actually will choose you. And your own intuition will say yes. Okay. So it's very difficult. I think it's a foreign concept for the Western culture, but it is what it is. A shaman will chose you, and it will let you know on time, and then you respond yes or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I am becoming more Western. I want to say I want to be chosen again. I want to be, who is going to choose me? And nobody is going to choose me. I am going to hire a shaman in the internet. Yeah. So no, it comes. When it's for you, it will come. So, and this is how it came in my life. I was already a psychologist when one of my friends, her husband actually, she and her husband, they were very often around me, and we start having a conversations, and pretty soon I have so many questions that he had answers for, that in the psychology I couldn't find answers. I was studying the master in Gestalt therapy back then, and a lot of phenomenons in my therapy room, they were not really in the books, at least not in Mexico. Yeah. And not in the traditional psychology. So I keep asking my professors, but then I keep having conversations with him, and he had clear, very simple and efficient answers. So
which
after a
really
year,
nice.
yeah, which is really nice. It was really refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He never told me this is called shamanism. He never told me anything. He didn't look like a Western idea of a shaman sitting in a meditation cushion and looking wise or nothing. He was a worker. He was an editor for a bigger TV station. He was like a normal person, yeah. But then after a year, he took us for hiking and teach us how we talk to the water and how we use plants and how all of this organic knowledge. And after a year, he started talking about what shamanism is. And I say, and he say, well, and teachers choose their students and blah, blah, blah. And I say, are you my teacher? Are you my mentor? And he didn't answer because shamans don't answer directly. Yeah. He just let me go on my own. Yeah. And I was so scared that I left that day. I was like, I don't want to learn anything that I was not raised for. Yeah. I am Catholic. I don't want to upset my mama. I'm a psychologist, a scientific psychologist. I don't want to upset my teachers. Yeah. So I left that day, and it took me like 48 hours or something to come to senses. And I say, well, if this is for me, this is for me. Yeah. So I came and talked to him and say, what now? And he said, okay, now officially you take the role of a student. And we set up time. We were like 3-4 hours every Friday night. And we did that for 4 years.
Wow.
He said that the shaman training at least needs to be 7 years. And after 4 years, he told me, Carmen, my time has done with you. You are going to another country and pretty soon. And he kind of was doing a divination, because at that moment I didn't knew anything about me leaving my country at all. But he said, you are going to move because in my journey, in my last journey, I saw you talking in another language, and it was a room full of people, and you were not talking Spanish. We don't know what language, but you were not talking Spanish. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, we don't know what language, but I will learn English because probably English is one of the languages that I will need. Yeah. So the next day I signed myself for English lessons, and we start kind of slowly. He started preparing me for me to live without his teachings. And it was very powerful because it was not the teacher that I could go and see in a certain amount of time. I could call him anytime. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put you an example of how it's different from traditional therapy, or my first example that shocked me. Yeah.
Yes, please do.
So I was doing therapy, and by that time I was doing Gestalt therapy and doing guided meditations and everything in between. Yeah. So one day I went to the house of somebody. I never did home visits, but that day I did a home visit because that person had a very difficult car accident. So I went to her and I did the session. We did the session, and it was another city. So I needed to go and do classes. I was teaching in the university. So I went to my class, but I was extremely sick. I got like fever and extremely sick. I didn't call anybody. I just finished the class, jumped into the bus, in the public bus, and went to my apartment 2 hours difference from my city. So when I arrived to my apartment, it was like 3-4 hours later. I was like, my fever was bigger, everything was worse. But for some reason, I knew it was not a doctor thing. I just very deep inside knew that I needed to rest. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm going to sleep and see what happens tomorrow. When I arrived in my apartment, my shaman teacher, his wife, and his daughter, the daughter was like 9 or 10 years old. They were waiting for me outside. And he said, I know you are not doing well, so we need to do something. by that time I didn't ask why he knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, forget it.
From
Like,
your experience with him,
yeah.
it was more like, nope, I'm just trusting the process.
Yeah, that was not the time of WhatsApp or Facebook time or nothing. It was like
Right.
just like pure shamanic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I don't even have the energy to ask. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned not to ask anyway. So he came inside and said, you need to tell me exactly what happened in the entire session. So exactly what happened in your day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come to that session and what happened exactly. And what happened was that at some point, I feel absolutely sorry for my client. Yeah.
Mm.
She had under so many surgeries, so difficult life in bed with so difficult time that I felt sorry. So I touched her. I touched her leg or I touched something to comfort her. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is when I didn't got anything from her. It's actually that my soul did a commitment to take the sickness from her.
Oh, wow.
Like my soul did like, you cannot handle, let me take it from you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my shaman teacher told me, that's not your job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Her job is to have her sickness and to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to be in the supportive role. So you cannot take it from her. It's not your job.
Mm-hmm.
So he did some herbal medicine, some singing and dancing and chanting and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the husband, the wife and the daughter too, they all did that for me. And they left. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day I was happy and healed as I never been before. Because I learned the lesson. It was I cannot feel sorry for my clients and I cannot take what is their journey to do. Yeah.
Yeah. A powerful message.
Yes.
That I think whether you therapist, coach, any type of healer, it's like, it's not your job to take on your clients' stuff. Because they're here to work through that themselves. And so for you to have a shaman teacher that just, you're trusting the process and him being able to reflect back, it's like, no, Carmen, this is not yours. And to be, release that through his own, practices, which I'm going to talk about in just a second or ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shoo. Amazing.
It really made me a different therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really, Nicole, because wow, it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I am not sorry for you.
Yeah.
We are going to do this together, but I'm not sorry to you.
Yeah. And I think part of, your message when I was reading your bio, it's you come from the place of empowerment. And I like to do the same thing with my clients, that whether I'm a therapist or I'm doing coaching, it's not feeling sorry for somebody because that doesn't serve them in any which way or form. It's being able to come from a place of healthy power, self-empowerment, to be able to say, I can get through this no matter what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That in itself is powerful. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So let me back up just a second then too. What are some of those, I guess, some of the common shamanic practices then, whether you've learned from your own shaman or those that you now work with your own clients and or even for your own life, what are some of those things that you do?
So the common shaman practices that I learned from him are the soul retrieval, which means somebody lost their soul because of an accident or a trauma, at the moment of trauma, or being scared or sickness or something. They lose their soul and they live like, I describe it as a gray. They, instead of living in, you look at the person, doesn't look at color anymore. It look like black and white or gray.
Yep.
Yeah. So the soul retrieval is a ritual where we call the soul of the person.
Mm-hmm.
The use of energy, like you read the energy in the body of the person just by sitting in front of the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The use of, sorry, my thinking is in Spanish. The use of we call it smoke in Spanish, el humito in Spanish is kind of a resin from a tree, and you prepare it and you smoke it. Yeah. Kind of saging, similar to saging. The development of our intuition, body intuition. Connecting with the ancestors to be able to bring information from the ancestors. Like through rituals and altars and everything, we connect and ask questions to the ancestors. And the use of plants, herbal teas, plants that you put in your body, everything that is around plants. And of course, the one that is probably the most known in the Western culture is the shamanic journey. The use of guided meditation to go into your own past, or to go into your other lives, for example, and bring information that will help you to heal.
Yeah, when I was sharing with you or asking you to be on, because I knew you could speak about this, I've done some of my own, where we did more of like a group shamanic journey. We had a shaman kind of running it, and then we were doing our own kind of journeying. It was very, very powerful. But I'm amazed all the different practices that a shaman brings in. And it just makes me think of, there's different spiritual practices that do very similar work. And it always makes me wonder, it's like, well, which came first? Right?
Yeah, well,
these are so ancient. I mean, they've been around for so many years.
Yes, hand healing, the use of stones is another one. And you're right. It is, we are not shamanism is not something that we can say belongs only to my culture, to your culture. It belongs to the world, period.
Yeah.
And some people develop that, and it requires a lot of energy and enthusiasm to do it. And some people, we just don't have time for it. Yeah. Yeah. So it belongs to, I think, I like to think that psychologists are the cousins of the shamans. Yeah. And so the doctors, so the priests.
Yeah.
Is part of it. It's just a multidisciplinary team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, would you mind speaking then? Let's stick with, because I know you do a lot of trauma work as well, and I do in my clinical practice. How can shamanic work actually help heal some of those past traumas, some of those past hurts? Again, I know what some of these things are that you talked about, the soul retrieval, using like whether it's sage or kind of illumination, the body intuition. Speak a little bit like how shamanic work really helps somebody who's gone through some of those things.
There are some moments in the journey of healing the trauma that a medical doctor will not be able to give you a pill. Yeah. And then you go into talk therapy, and talk therapy will do wonderful job, but it still will not be enough. And there are moments that we will go to art or dancing or chanting or doing herbal teas or something. So those are the moments where we leave the mainstream psychology.
Yeah.
And we say, we are going to, this is the way I say it. I see it. I have my toolbox.
Yeah.
And I am going to bring whatever it serves you.
Yep.
I don't care if it serves me as a clinician. I care if it serves you. Yeah. So if sitting with me and having tea together is actually very useful to you, we are going to do it. If sitting here and calling your soul and naming it and bring it and put it into your body with my hands is going to serve you, I'm going to learn it and do it. Yeah. Because at some point, trauma impacts us in so many layers.
Yeah.
If a person was raped, they were raped in so many layers.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were raped physically, emotionally. The good thing and what I like about shamanism is that the spirit is never damaged.
Say that again.
The spirit will never suffer. our own
Beautiful.
spirit. And that's very beautiful because I have worked with people who have been raped, group rape, or killed their family in front of them or something, because I have worked with immigrants, undocumented immigrants in particular. And when I find that glimpse of a spiritual presence in their eyes, I just hold into it. And then I need to call my spirit to say, we are here. We are here and we are going to do the rest of the reparation process. Yeah. So it calls for a repair, but the person do it, and their own spirit do it, and they know how to do it once we open the opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah.
The person say, actually, Carmen, I need to walk in the forest. Or one of my clients told me, I say, please think about what you can do. What is going to be the most helpful to you? And she say, I want to go and walk the walk that I did after I was raped to the next building. That was my building in the campus. Yeah. I want to go and do that walk. So we created a system where she can go and walk with friends and company and everything. But she needs to do that walk. Nobody can do it for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people will say, I need to call the police right now, even though 50 years passed.
Yep.
Or some people will say, any kind of situation. So I need to be quiet for another 20 years. That's perfect. But once you know what is your own journey of healing and you are not scared of it, that is when the shamanic will be supporting you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be supporting you to find those answers.
Yeah. And I think that's the big piece of this too, that you're talking about. It's everybody has their own healing time. And it is not as the clinician, right? It's not about telling them what they need. It's more like, here's some tools that we have, but I want to show up in the way that you need me to show up to help you with where you are right now in this process.
Something that one of the tasks that Ernesto was my teacher, my shaman teacher. One of the tasks that he put me for years was to sit quiet, to light a candle, sit quiet and observe the candle, the candle light. Yeah. And he said, you are going to observe that candle until the candle talks to you. And it was years. That was one of the tasks. And another one of the tasks was, you are going to lay down in the morning and ask your pinky finger what dressing and what food it wants for the day. And it was like, what you're talking about, the pinky finger? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I did my pinky finger homework for a long time before my pinky finger answered. Actually, I want milk. Yeah. Like, oh, okay, well. But when I was doing those practices, I will dress for the day. I will choose in the morning. I never choose the day before my clothes. I choose the very same day. I will dress in these kind of synchronicities, like my coworker has the same color, or we all are wearing the same color, or I am meeting somebody many kilometers away and they know they also bring that thing. So it was such a beautiful way of living, connected with it, because as I keep connecting with myself, it turns out that I was connecting with others.
Yeah.
So my life was so much easier. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? I know I've had different conversations with different guests, and one of them, I was just actually editing a podcast before you and I jumped on today, and I was chatting with her, and it's like, yeah, when we truly remember that we're all truly connected, literally at the soul level, I mean, throughout this whole universe, we're all connected. It's amazing when we allow those connections to come forward, or we get out of the way. And whether we're talking to our pinky finger of what it wants or what clothes we're going to wear today, it's just letting, your spirit basically talk to you, and you get connected. But yet it can scare so many people to do that.
Well, let me tell you, spirit or not always is kind in the way that we want to hear. Yeah. Sometimes the spirit will say, this is not the relationship for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we say, I didn't hear. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
like,
was cotton in my ear. I couldn't hear that today.
no. I like that guy. I want to go out. Yeah. And and the spirit keeps saying, no, that's not the person for you. And we don't like to listen sometimes.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay not to listen.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, though, right? It's when we choose not to really listen because we're trying to control things too. Well, I like this and it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. And instead of you're negotiating with more of kind of the ego piece of it, then allowing to let flow and ease come into your life when you're listening truly to your soul, to your spirit. It's like when you do that, the world really does shift. I mean, things just do get easier or can get easier when you allow that to happen.
And we live in a country in the United States with everything is possible because we have resources, or we think everything is possible. So, I like to complain why Google doesn't come faster, 10 seconds faster with my maps when I need it. Yeah. I'm driving. It took 10 seconds for the car to connect to CarPlay, and I am complaining. And it's like, why? And because we just want that comfort. Yeah. But sometimes if actually, what about if these 10 seconds were for me to breathe?
Yeah.
What about if my inner map is actually not connecting?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's taking me more than 10 seconds to connect. The price is high. It's very high price for that. We don't know it, until we experience the price.
Well, and to go back to that, it's that instant gratification versus I'm going to block out what my inner guidance is telling me versus like if you pause for those 10 seconds and breathe and actually can go back into yourself, it's like that answer can show itself. Or it may take years as you're watching that candle flame for the answers to come up or for the next step or for you to be able to hear things differently. But it's the practice, it's the patience, and it's the trusting and even surrendering to what is.
Yes. Even surrendering I like that work. Surrender is beautiful.
Well, I mean, and you talked about that so much when you really met your shaman teacher, that it's like, he found you, and then it wasn't the direct, like, well, are you my teacher? It's like, no, you had to come to the insight of like, yes, this is the path that I'm ready and willing to go down. And it isn't like the traditional psychology. I mean, there's just not. I mean, that's the beauty of having all these different ways to make it so much more holistic. So you can go deeper with people, and then they can what do we want to say? It is reawaken what's going on inside of them. And so they can also heal whatever needs to be healed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for him waiting patiently until I actually asked the question.
Yeah.
It took me a year to ask the question, like, are you teaching me?
Right.
Sounds like you're teaching me. And he even more patiently to say nothing.
Yeah. No, good, very good point. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but to hold back and not say, hey, I'm here to teach you. It's waiting for you to ask. Yeah. Again, it's the timing. It's all about the timing. When it's right, it will present itself. And then you go from there.
Wow. Yeah. So this is why I cannot forget those teachings when I am doing therapy.
Yeah.
Even though I would like to, I cannot forget those because I know the price of forgetting them.
Yeah.
And also, I will never call myself or say that I am doing shamanism, because I do meditation, I do yoga, I do whatever I need to do for me to be healthy, but I definitely don't have that way of living. I wish, but it's not doable in the Silicon Valley sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am happy with it. I call myself priestess.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the idea that I am a healer and a priestess,
Mm-hmm.
because I certainly keep my practices as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love the distinction of that too. It's like, because it's like you're consciously choosing not to state that I'm in the role or having the, for lack of a better word, title of shamanism, because that is not the full way of my living and working. It's like, but I definitely have some of the practices that I incorporate, but I am okay with whether, it's priestess or healer, that I will take on.
And I know enough when to send my people to the shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you need to go. Yeah. You need to do it. You need to do something different. That help me also.
Mm-hmm.
My teacher Ernesto say that I am going to find another teacher that is going to be with me for another 3 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was complaining to one of my colleagues that he also studied shamanism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 2 weeks ago, I told him, I don't find my other teacher. Why is not my other teacher coming? It has been so many years. I'm ready. And he say, I have a name. I have the WhatsApp number. You are going to call him. Yeah. And I didn't call for a week. And my friend contact me and say, have you contact him? And I say, no, what I say? Yeah, no, I'm not going to call.
He needs to call me.
Yeah, he needs to call me. And my friends say, well, he may ask you to come to Mexico because he lives in Mexico and you may need to spend days or weeks there.
Uh-huh.
And all this in my mind, like, oh my God, no, I don't have time for that right now. So I have the number. I'm not going to call yet. But then I realized I actually am working already. I have been working for the last year with a female shaman. And we meet weekly for other reasons and for other purposes and business. And they're like, okay, I have my that part of me is taken care of. Yeah. So we never know. We never know when we are going to learn from whom.
Yeah.
We are learning.
Well, I think that's another beautiful key point, is being open to learning, right? Mm-hmm. That I often tell my clients that we cross paths with people because either A, they're learning something from us, or B, we're learning something from them, or both. Mm-hmm. And then when that relationship may change or end, it's like, okay, it's time to move on or shift directions, which is totally normal and okay. But it's amazing when we're not open to receiving what that lesson may be or to learn from them, you miss out.
Yes. Yeah. And life is so beautiful that it will bring you the knowledge again and again until you are ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else, Carmen? I know I've given you just a few questions. Is there anything else that you want to share about shamanism that I missed, or that you kind of help your clients with that I just haven't asked?
I will ask to your listeners to follow their intuition when it comes to any spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Because it can be some people that they call themselves shamans, and you need to feel it in your body, like, and question, like, does that person looks like they take care of themselves? Do they look that they are they talk, they walk the talk? Yeah. Because if they don't, maybe you can get some intellectual knowledge from them, and that's okay. Yeah. But you need to be aware when not to follow.
Yeah.
And if you go to a shamanic journey, if you go to one of these workshops that is for an hour or 2 hours, and they say, we are going to do a shamanic journey, that's good and that's beautiful. Go and do it. Just go and see and feel, but never abandon yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a powerful, powerful reminder. One, to listen intuitively with your body, which I think for many women that often gets disconnected, especially if there's been a trauma, to retrust that intuition is there. And then 2, not to abandon themselves if they choose to do the shamanic journey or they participate in some sort of spiritual, event or practice. It's like, don't leave you in that.
Yes. 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 Is if the shaman teacher says, let's jump, and you want to jump and you are happy or you are sad and you want to cry or whatever, good. Yeah. Whatever you need to express and make yourself vulnerable, that's good. But never do something that you will not like to do in another circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that way you are protected. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's better to say, oh, well, it took me 3-4 times to do a shamanic journey with this person before I could trust, than I trust the first time and it didn't work. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your time to know somebody.
Well, I love that. And again, it's just giving them permission to, get curious and explore versus, I need to hurry and jump on this. And if it might not be the fit. Yeah, I love it.
And it's like going to yoga. Yeah. You go to yoga and you say, I'm going to do this movement in the yoga, and the teacher is doing it beautifully and she's stretch and she does all of this. I am going to do halfway because I cannot do it full way. And that's okay. I did my yoga. Next day it was going to be better. Next day. But if the teacher says something in yoga, move that way, and my body is screaming in pain, I'm not going to move. Even the teacher say don't move that way. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not going to move. So it's the same in any spiritual practice. It's like the teacher say, let's do that. And it's painful for me. It takes me time. I'm not going to do it the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. Great reminders. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Carmen, I just want to say thank you so much for being on today. And ladies, I'm going to have Carmen's website, all her social media, and her meditation page link, all that good stuff. And she's definitely got YouTube videos out there too for you to watch, listen to. So I will have all of her links out there. Her website is emotionsinharmony.org. And then she's got meditations on Eyesight Timer under Carmen Roman. And I'll have all that stuff on the show notes. So Carmen, I just want to say, one, I know you're making a huge impact with your podcast because you and I were talking about it before I hit record. And so you were literally changing lives, which is absolutely so cool. And I know you're also making changes in people's lives through your clinical work too. So just thank you so much for being on, for sharing your wisdom, and for doing what you're doing in our world.
Thank you. It has been beautiful. It has been an honor to be here with you.
Thank you for listening. And if you're a female entrepreneur wanting to gain more confidence in speaking up for yourself, being able to respond versus react to events in your life, and live a life that is aligned with you, head over to steppingintosoul.com to sign up for our new mastermind starting April 5th.